gotta be kidding.
It's time for the Dougcast. After a week off, happy 4th of July. The man of the hour, the man who's basically carrying SmackDown on his shoulders, per my vision here, James Ellsworth. What's up?
What's up, Dennis? I didn't talk to you last week, so I had a great week last week, but here we are back on the Dougcast, and I'm excited to be here for our listeners, not so much you, but here we are.
You're bound by law to be here. Let's be honest. It's court-ordered podcast, so welcome back. How was your 4th?
The 4th was great. Just chilled out, man. Relaxed.
I'm looking through the news, putting together show notes. I see, record low ratings for Raw, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But then I see how the ratings for SmackDown keep going up, and every article I read is about James Ellsworth. You're coming back. You're essentially stealing the show. Now, I don't like to ask you a lot of these insider questions. We kind of talk about this, but has management come to you and talked to you about maybe extending your contract or anything at that point, or are you still month to month at this point?
I don't ask questions, and we just kind of go with the flow. Right now, I feel like everything's going well. And we'll see where it goes. That's just where we're at. I try not to, worry myself with it too much. Obviously, you need some stability in your life because I have children and all, and I got to fix my schedule a lot. But other than that, man, I'm just blessed to be there, blessed to be back, and having a great time.
You took some stiff shots from Asuka in it's even the first matchup with her. Let's talk about going through that. Did you know it was going to be a stiff match? And not that, it's all kayfabe and all that stuff, but was it stiffer than you expected?
No, man. I'm a gamer. I try to be wrestling, it's not ballet. That, I know that's a cliche thing to say, but you're on live television, the camera's up on you, you got to take some stiff shots. And if you think, and if you're scared of that, you shouldn't be in it. It's a tough thing to go through. It's live TV, and Asuka's a hell of a performer. I've had, it's been my pleasure to be in the ring with her the last 2 weeks, and she's a very safe worker, and yeah, man, it's snug. It's TV, cameras up on you. Got to make it look good.
WWE in many years have been very protected with male-on-female violence. We've talked about this in past podcasts. You can go back to WrestlingPerspectivePodcast.com and listen to those. After this Asuka match, you come backstage, even one of the two, because we've not talked since you've had 2 matches with her. How has the reaction from management been both times?
So far, so good, man. They've been very happy with everything. I've been very happy with everything. I'm the biggest critical myself, though, man. I'll go back and watch stuff. Man, I should have said this in the promo, or I should have did this in the match. But that's with every time. Any wrestler will tell you that. That's how we are. But management's been happy with everything, and overall, I've been happy with everything. And it's going well. I don't know where it's going, and if I did, it would spoil it for me. I like to find out just like everyone else. Find out the secrets as they happen. But yeah, man, management's again telling me good job, and it's I don't know, and you'll never know what they're thinking or what's gonna happen or what they thought about before they brought me in. Hey, we're gonna bring them in, do this storyline with Carmella and Asuka. Then I don't know, maybe they just thought that's it, and we'll go from there. Or but again, I try not to worry myself with it. I'm just trying to enjoy this run, and I have enjoyed it thoroughly. It's been great, man. This is my second run there, so going back a second time, you have that experience from the first time, and you see it through different eyes. And I'm just enjoying it more than I did the first time. The first time I was worrying myself too much. Then I got too comfortable, and now I'm just relaxed, calm, cool, and collective, and really, really just enjoying it.
I'm glad that you brought that up because one of the things I wanted to talk about was Daniel Bryan. You were there before he was cleared. You're there after he's cleared. And Daniel Bryan is very polarizing to me. Somebody I enjoy watching, but every time I cringe. What kind of difference have you seen from Daniel Bryant the first run, just hanging out backstage, talking to people, to the Daniel Bryant now that's actually back into wrestling?
Oh, he's got his game face on every week now. Like before, he's just a general manager. He's having fun. He's telling jokes. And Daniel Bryan's a great guy. He's very, very fun to be around. And now you see him. He's still that great guy, but he's got his game face on. He's very focused. He's very, very passionate about what he does inside the ring and what kind of performance he puts on. So I'm looking at a very focused Daniel Bryan opposed to the first time who didn't have to focus as much because he wasn't performing in the ring.
I don't know if I've ever asked you this, but you worked closely with Daniel Bryant a lot in your first run. A lot of your storyline revolved around him and suspensions and Carmella. You come back. What was your first interaction with Daniel Bryant like when you came back? This is just me asking as a fan.
Well, Daniel Bryan and I, we've always been cool. I remember when he got cleared, I texted him. I'm sure he got a million texts when he got cleared. And I texted him. I said, man, I'm so happy for you. I know how much you wanted that. Congratulations. And he texted me back like literally 15 minutes later. And he's like, thanks, man. Appreciate it. And, when we see each other, it's a handshake and a hug and ask each other how we're doing, talk about the kids a little bit. But again, he's just so focused and, ready to do what he has to do. That's what he concentrates on. And, I respect that about him as a performer.
This might be a dumb question because I understand wrestling is, people acting in different parts, doing what management and the writers tell them to do. But how different is it interacting with Daniel Bryan as a general manager and now interacting with Paige as a general manager?
Well, Paige, she's a beautiful girl and she's very full of life, man. She's always happy and she's, just fun. Another person that's fun to be around, and I guess they've been doing this stuff where I'm coming on to her now, which has been a lot of fun. It's getting good reactions and stuff, and so yeah, from having a male manager that you're really I was in his face and talking about his kids, and now the Ellsworth character is just being like a chauvinistic pig and flirting with Paige, saying I know you want me and this and that. It's a different kind of animal dealing with a girl general manager and a guy, and I'm having a blast with it, man. I'll tell you that.
You said there was a lot when we started doing the podcast before going back to WWE was a reality. You said there was a lot of stuff unfinished between you and Carmella, storyline wise. You're jumping back in. You're in it. Do you feel like you're accomplishing it, or are there still things that you wanted to do then that you're just kind of hoping happen, down the line?
Oh, man, you always, as a performer, you always have in your head, man, I hope they go this way with the story, or I hope they go that way with the story. And I do have, a lot of thoughts like that in my head. But, man, again, looking at it through different eyes than I did the first time, I have learned and realized that I don't have any control over that. And I'm not going to pester people about it. And I'm just going to see what happens, see where it goes, and just put on the best performance and do the best I can as a performer with the story. I love the story with Carmella. I love working with Carmella. It's like we were talking about it yesterday, man, at TV. It just feels like I never left. We really just started right back up where we left off. It just didn't feel like I was gone that 6 or 7 months or however long I was gone. It feels like Ellsworth's been with her there the whole time. We have this unorthodox chemistry, her and I. I told her last week, I'm like Dennis the Menace. And what was Dennis the Menace's friend name? The bad girl on the show?
Oh, I know who you're talking about because I used to get made fun of it all the time. And, God, I wish I could remember now.
It might have been Martha, maybe? Or
sounds right.
Maybe that was Mr. Wilson's wife. But somebody tweet that out to us. Tell us who Dennis the Menace's girlfriend was, or friend that was a girl, which is funny because that's what I called Carmelo my first run. But yeah, that's what it just reminds me of. We're like the bad kids in the neighborhood. I'm the little menace, but Dennis had that girl that was bossing him around, was even, badder than him. That's what this reminds me of, man. And, it could go any which way, and, we can speculate where it's going and guess like everybody else, but that's what's fun about wrestling, fun about entertainment in general. You want to, guess what's coming next, and what's coming next might not always be what you think it's going to be, and you just roll with the punches. But, dude, I love working with Carmelo, and it just feels like, never left. We really, really just kicked it off right, started where we left off. We didn't miss a beat.
Here, I'll say this. You and I have a weird relationship where most people are really good friends that are co-hosts. You and I are still building our friendship, in all fairness. This kind of came out of nowhere. You and I agreed that this is going to be fun. Let's try it. We didn't know each other, and it's working out great. So when I see videos like WWE posted the other day, I believe it was WWE, but it was you outside meeting fans and hanging out with them. I don't know if you've seen that tweet or not, that of you. I think it was after last, was it Tuesday night show. It makes me go, you know what? I'm really glad to know a guy like you. Did you see that video of you and the fans?
Yeah, man. It was just one of those things where I was walking out to the car after a show, and some fans just, called me over, and there happened to be, somebody was filming. I had no clue. You could see me looking at the camera a couple times. I was basically making sure, there's a camera there. I better not say a cuss word or something, So, and I'm just, I love the fans, man. I always have been of the mindset of that's what it's about. It's about making memories for people, like families that come to the show, and put smiles on faces and entertaining people. And man, anytime I can interact with little kids and make their day, that's not to sound cliche, but really, really, it's something I'm very lucky and fortunate and blessed I get to do, and I never mind doing it, man. It always makes me very happy to do that.
Let's get into a heavy topic here, and it was recently the NWP, was it New Japan Pro Wrestling? They did their G1 in San Francisco, and there's been a lot of backlash to, I don't know if it's so much New Japan or the Japanese style of being unsafe. Now, this is unfamiliar territory for me. I am just catching up with the product the last year, so I'm not going to be a poser like some guys out there like, oh, I've been watching this for years. I know everything. I'll be honest. I don't know much about it, and I enjoy watching it. Is it, in your opinion, unsafe?
If you work a little snug, like we were just talking about, Asuka being a little snug or on TV, if you work a little snug and you're getting hit in the proper places, it's not unsafe. You're working tight and you can be sore the next day. But if you're hitting the safe spot, it's not unsafe. I consider myself a very safe wrestler. I've been wrestling 16 years. I've never hurt anybody, knock on wood. And I'm very proud of that. Very, very proud of that. Because I'm very safe in the ring, and I expect people to be safe with me. I mean, obviously, it's dangerous enough stepping in a ring and wrestling. It's very dangerous. It's ended people's lives, broken people's neck, and you do think about it as a performer and as a wrestler. But the strong style, I think there is a safe way to do it, and then there's a safe way not to do it, dropping people on their heads. That's not safe at all. And I don't know if that's a part of this strong style, because I'm not even really honestly sure what strong style is. I don't really understand that term, but I think it is, people working a little more snug, which again, it's fine if you're hitting this, the safe spots, but if you're dropping people on their heads and this and that and the other, then that's unsafe. But I'm all for being a little snug if you're being safe about it.
I was watching the G1 where you saw Jim Ross get his ribs broken. Did you see any of the highlights or that actual pay-per-view?
I did see that. Him getting his ribs broken. I saw the guy that got his neck broke, and that's what I mean. Again, it goes back to dropping people on your head. You got to be safe, man. When and accidents do happen. Freak accidents happen, but man, yeah, safety first. That's just the way I feel. This is entertainment. We're in there trying to take care of each other, and Yeah, it was, like the Jim Ross thing. It seemed to me that's a freak accident, man. That's just something that nobody had it in their mind. Nobody wanted to hit Jim Ross, with the tape. I guess the table rammed into him, and that's how he broke his ribs, if I'm not mistaken. I saw the video, but I don't know if that's one. Is that they were fighting over by the table, right? And did the table go into his ribs?
It looked like the guy got thrown into the barricade, and the barricade knocked into the table, and that's where the incident happened.
Right, and that's a freak accident. That's just my take on it. So that's just something that was out of the ordinary that happened. It has nothing to do with people being unsafe or strong stylers. That was just a freak accident. I mean, people walk down the street every day, trip over something, hit their heads, and get knocked out. Like, it just weird stuff happens sometimes. Yeah, I haven't seen the show. I pay attention to everything, though. I really do on Twitter. Everything wrestling, I pay attention to. I try to. Because I don't know what situation, especially in my situation, I don't know where I'm going to find myself at any point in my career. I'm like this floater that's like 2018's been great to me. WWE and outside of the WWE, I've had a great year, man. Like, I'm very blessed. We're 7 months into this year, and wow, I've had such an amazing year. And so, and a lot of that is me paying attention to everything and going, man, I should be there. I should be doing this, or and so yeah, I watched the highlights, some of the highlights of that show. I actually saw Bubba Ray Dudley, and I was up late at night one night, and Ring of Honor was on, and Bubba Ray Dudley versus Cheeseburger. It was from I think the Manhattan Center. Man, what a story Bubba Ray told in that match. No wonder that guy's a Hall of Famer, man. He's one of the real true heels out there. He's a badass. I'm a big fan of his work, always have been, but I just happened to catch that on TV one night, and I was just in awe of it. I was like, man, look at this. This is an old school, just awesome heel, and hats off to him. I respect the hell out of him.
Bubba Ray Dudley is one of those guys that legitimately I'm scared of. I met him one time. I was with Petey. We went to a Ring of Honor show, and you get there early and you hang out and they BS. And you being a wrestler, you were never probably in the position I am, but my job going with Petey as a friend is to sit there, stay quiet until I'm introduced, and don't interject, because I'm a fan. I'm not going to try to put any of my input into their conversation, because they're on a higher level. But I'm standing there, and he introduces me. We shake hands. He's like, "You look familiar. Do I know you?" And I'm like, "No, you don't," because he has a reputation of just being, I don't want to use the word ornery, but if he doesn't know you, he can be standoffish, and when you're at his level, you have to be at times. So you don't know when he goes, "Do I know you?" if he thinks you're a troll, or maybe you were a buddy of a buddy before. But I shut up and I kind of stood behind Petey like, I'm not going to show up on YouTube the next day being an idiot fan talking trash.
I mean, I hear he has a bit of a reputation. I've met him a handful of times. He was always nice to me, even when I wasn't James Ellsworth and did indie shows and he happened to be on. But I'm not even talking about him as a person. Him as a performer, I think, is outstanding. To this day, he's already in the Hall of Fame, and he's working in Ring of Honor. And I just happened to catch that match, and I'm like, man, what a great heel. I love that old school feel, man. I'm a big fan of the old school. The Ellsworth character is straight out of old school wrestling, and I love portraying that character. A little weasel like Bobby Heenan, or that's kind of what James Ellsworth is. He's a weasel. He's doing all these weaselly things, and he's tried to kiss girls, and he's and he's fighting girls at the same time. It's just a fun old school Andy Kaufman, watered down Andy Kaufman about, obviously I couldn't get away with what Andy Kaufman got away with. But, I'm just a fan of the old school. Bubba Ray, man, I was watching that it brought me back. It did. I had a lot of fun watching him work with Cheeseburger there on Ring of Honor television. I did. And I don't know if he's going to listen to this, but, man, I really, really respect his work.
What is your favorite thing to watch outside of the WWE in your free time?
What, wrestling? I don't really. Yeah. I actually my favorite thing to watch to this day, it has been since like 1992, is Married with Children. I love that show, man.
Oh
I
my
watch it.
gosh.
It comes on late at night here. I DVR it, watch it every night. I love it.
No, I'm with you. Married with Children is my top 3 favorite TV shows of all time. I'm an Al Bundy guy.
Oh, he's great. And James Ellsworth, he's kind of like Bud Bundy. He's just again, like,
Oh my gosh.
it's fun.
Oh man, if you had, say, which I know you don't, and as a guy, you hate people throwing things out at you creatively. You go, hey, look, I know what's going on. But if you could take that little bit where he was like Grandmaster B, and then every
Yeah.
week he was a different kind of character, that would be awesome progression for the James Ellsworth.
Oh, well, James Ellsworth wears the backwards cap and all that. And nah, man, if anybody out there is listening, who's never seen Married with Children, look it up. Watch a couple episodes. You'll be hooked. The show was amazing. They can't make shows like that anymore because it's just a different world in 2018. But man, that was an entertaining show, and I still to this day watch it.
Could you get away with being called Grandmaster E?
Grandmaster E. I don't think so.
There we go. Hey, let's do a little Q&A. We got a couple more topics I want to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about Extreme Rules coming up. But I love going through your Q&As, and then the ones you don't catch up with, I like to ask you those questions because some people ask you some really interesting stuff. Some people don't. And when you go through and do a Q&A, I got to ask you, how do you pick and choose? Is it first one that pops up on your timeline? How do you, when you have 117 tweets or 70 tweets in 5 minutes, how do you pick and choose when you do Q&As?
I try to answer questions that I've never been asked before, like the same ones that come through, like who's your favorite wrestler of all time, or what's your favorite match, and what's your favorite color, and how is it working with Carmella, and like stuff like that. Like I've answered a million times, so I do pick and choose. If somebody asks me something that I haven't answered before, and it's a good question, I very, very much get excited and happy to answer.
All right. I saw the one of your favorite games, Sonic 2. That's a good one.
Oh yeah, the casino level, man, is the best.
Oh, wait, let me ask you this, because I see a lot of people that go, Ellsworth, will you follow me on Twitter? What does a fan have to do to get an Ellsworth follow? Is there, because I know there are some people that, it sounds crazy, some people have their follows and, I will only follow certain people. Some people are very free with their follows on Twitter. Do you have you got to do something cool or on Twitter? What does someone have to do to get a follow?
But like, I'll check out people's page when they ask me that. If like they seem like just a nice fan that's not really there to bash anyone and just have a good time with the entertainment of wrestling, then I don't mind following them because they're just cool people. Like a lot of people just like try to troll and and try to bash the WWE or me or whatever, and I'm just not about that life, man. I'm all love, and that's what I look for. Somebody that's positive and writing cool things and just having a good time with the entertainment that they're being provided. Because if you're not liking the entertainment that you're being provided, then turn it off. Duh.
All right, let's start with some of these questions. Smooths wants to know, would you be shocked if you showed up in the WWE 2K19 game?
Yes and no. Yes, because I haven't heard anything about it. And no, because, I mean, they did scan me last year for the game, so they have all my features and everything, and they do downloadable characters every year, and I haven't been in the game yet, so, that might be something they do, just to have a new character in there. I mean, obviously the game's stacked this year. They have Rey Mysterio, Ronda Rousey, so they don't need me per se. But, I mean, it'd be cool, obviously, for me. It's something I haven't accomplished yet, and I would love to be in the game. So to answer your question, yes, I'd be shocked because I haven't been, contacted about it. But no, because they do have my features, and I haven't been in yet.
Would people obviously tweet you their versions of James Ellsworth on the video game? Does that excite you when you see some of those?
Oh yeah, some of them. Well, again, they have my features, so they're in the game. So when people can easily create me because they have all my facials and everything. They took them last year. So, but yeah, some like a guy this week made one that looked just like me. I was like, whoa, that's cool.
Someone wants to know: are you and Gilbert still tag team champions?
Of Adrenaline Championship Wrestling, no, we are not. We lost them back to the Bully Club, and we should be getting our rematch real soon.
You know, that's a fun story when I hear you were on, I believe, Talk is Jericho, right? Explaining your relationship with Gilbert.
Yeah, man. Well, I've known Gilbert my whole life. We're both from Baltimore, and he's a friend of my family, and always has been. So it's crazy. It's a small world. Speaking of small world, if no one's checked this out yet. Last night at television, they did 205 Live after SmackDown. As always, I'm a big fan of 205, by the way. It's such an easy wrestling show to follow. You know, it's a 45-minute show on the network. Great wrestling action. The storylines are easy to follow. Like, if you haven't checked out 205 Live, please start doing it. But anyway, Colin Delaney, who was basically James Ellsworth 10, 11 years ago, before, like, he really laid down the foundation for me. He was an extra talent that came to TV. And the next week they brought him back because they liked the way he looked and the little promo he cut, and they kept bringing him back, and he wound up being there 8 months. But Colin Delaney, this year in 2018, has been on 205 Live a couple of times, and even SmackDown once, just doing some matches. And last night he wrestled Leo Rush on 205 Live. And afterwards, the first interaction ever with Ellsworth and Colin Delaney happened on a WWE.com exclusive, and you could go on YouTube and find that. And I just think that's a really cool, nostalgic type of deal. So if anybody hasn't seen it yet, go just to YouTube and look up Ellsworth/Colin Delaney, and you can check it out.
It's a little fun in the trainer's room segment, so go check it out. It was funny. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Just a small little, tidbit, and we'll see if that goes anywhere. But I know it's like it's doing well. Like, it's under the 205 Live channel, and it's getting a lot of views for that channel, which I'm happy about. Because I am very, very cool with a lot of the 205 guys. I TV every week. A lot of those guys are my the same age, and I knew some of them from the independents, and I love those guys, man. They're out there busting their ass, and I hope they build that brand brick for brick and just have an awesome brand to always be out there for fans, because they're putting on some amazing matches. So check out 205 Live on the network if you haven't.
Here's something interesting. You're in a industry where crowd reaction, views, and hits matter when your name and face is on the headline. How do you manage that when you come in and do you check and see if they say, anybody says anything, you're like, wow, we really heard that, and you're like, yes, okay, good, because no reaction is a bad reaction. Even tons of bad boos is a good reaction. It means the fans are responding one way or another to you. How do you manage, trying not to go, hey guys, did you see? Because sometimes when you're in that position, and I've been in a position where you have to go, those phone lines were, packed the other night. Did you see that? Hoping people notice that you are gaining momentum back. And you say you go in and out and you just kind of try to stay in your lane, but do you sometimes kind of just cross your fingers and go, oh man, I hope they see that?
Oh, absolutely. And any performer that says they don't do that is lying. I go, man, I hope they're seeing that, like, my SmackDown segments on YouTube every week are getting over 1 million views, and I hope they you do think that. And again, anybody that says, oh no, I don't think about that kind of stuff, they're lying, man. You if you're passionate about this and you care about this, you do look at every little detail. And me, again, I'm my own worst critic, man. I'll watch my Oscar match, and I've been told good job by the right people, and I'm like, man, I wish I would have did this in the match. Or if I'm watching a promo of mine, man, I wish I would have nailed that line differently. And and I've been happy with my performances, but again, there's always room to do better. But yeah, to answer your question, you do hope people do back there are paying attention to your reactions and paying attention to the numbers of viewers, watching your stuff on YouTube channels and on television. You do hope they are checking that out, especially in my situation where everything's up in the air right now. Like, so, and they brought me back to do this, and I don't know where it's going, and they might not know where it's going. They might be looking at that kind of stuff, going, "All right, well, this is working, and he is getting numbers." So, maybe that stuff. I hope it helps, and I hope they do pay attention to it. To answer your question, yes, you do think about that. I do all the time.
Mike M wants to know who's the funniest WWE superstar backstage.
Daniel Bryan. Luke Harper's really funny too. Believe it or not, he's hilarious. Cracks me up. And I've gotten to know Rockstar Spud. He's Mr. Maverick over there, the general manager of 205 Live, Drake Maverick. He's pretty funny too. I didn't really know him too well before WWE, but now I've been back for this past month. He's been cracking me up back there. So yeah, there's a lot of funny guys, but Daniel Bryan to me was always the funniest. He's hilarious, man.
I got to know Rockstar it was a Detroit convention, and it might have been that same night you came into town, which would be kind of odd. I'm trying to remember, but it was the night Jim Cornette and Santino got into, and Rockstar and I were kind of right next to each other when that was going on.
Wow, that's a little piece of history, man. It's crazy.
Let's see here. Perch wants to know, you seem so comfortable on the mic in front of an arena full of people. Any tips on how to handle mental butterflies?
Man, I don't know. I've always just been such a ham my whole life. Like, I've always liked the audience. I've always liked showing off. Like, I love it, man. I love being in front of that crowd. I love being on that microphone. I love it. And I don't know really what kind of advice to give you other than just to go for it. Have fun with it. Be yourself. Like, just don't think about how many number of people are in the audience or how many people are watching at home. You got to get on there and you got to do it. And to me, like I said, ever since I was 4 years old, there's videos of me just jumping around trying to make people laugh or whatever. I've always just been an entertainer, man. And that's probably why I'm so comfortable with it and all that, because I just always have loved being in front of an audience.
Let's see here. Here's a couple pretty good ones. What was your first reaction when WWE first approached you to come back?
I was like, wow, that's like, I didn't expect it. I always did expect to go back, but not this quickly, man. I was very, very relieved and happy that they brought me back this quickly, because if you're going too long, people might forget about you. But, it was only 6 months. And I was just like, man, this is good timing. It's just long enough where people have missed you and might be like, all right, well, he's not coming back anytime soon. And then they get happy to see you, man. Like, that initial reaction to Money in the Bank, I've said it several times already, is something I'll never forget. And I think timing is everything in this business, and that was perfect timing. That's what I thought when they called.
Coke or Pepsi?
Oh, man, that's Pepsi usually. Usually, I don't mind either one of them. I try not to drink a lot of soda, honestly, but Pepsi a little bit more of a Coke. They taste the same to me, kind of.
I've run through a few of these questions, and I won't ask you the question, but I'll ask you this. How hard is it for you to keep your political views out of your Twitter feed? I'm kind of the same way where you'll never know whether I support or not support any president, because I'm a talent. I don't want any of my fans to like me or dislike me based on my political views, and it's not my job to try to sway anybody. Because I'm a sports guy, I'm a wrestling guy. Who cares what I think about current or past presidents? But for you, what is your view of keeping your political views in and out of your Twitter feed?
Oh, man, I just try to stay away from anything people passionately argue about online, and politics being one of them. Because, man, people they passionately argue about that sort of thing. So I just don't touch it. I never will touch it. I don't, say really bad cuss words on there. I don't speak my mind about situations that might be a touchy subject. I stay away from all that stuff, man, and I always will.
Yeah, I don't want to know your political views. You don't want to know mine, and it's perfect that way. Let's see here. Have you ever been asked to go on Up, Up, Down, Down, which I believe that's the gaming channel from New Day?
I actually was on there once. Seth, excuse me, Seth Rollins was playing AJ in the game in the finals of Madden, and Xavier Woods asked me to come in and mess around with AJ a little bit, and I did. So I have been on there once. I've made one appearance so far.
Petey would tell these epic stories about how peed off AJ gets when he gets beat in
Yeah.
Like it's
that's 100% true. He starts biting the controller, and he's funny, man. He's very passionate about his video games.
Petey would tell the story about how AJ would keep challenging him to this basketball game. So Petey went out and bought the system in the game and would practice. Finally, when they came back to the next tapings or next time they hung out, AJ didn't think Petey knew how to play, and Petey would keep blowing him out of the water. And in one of the matches, AJ did the typical, and I think you've done it. I've done it where you accidentally bump the game system, where it would skip and go blank and you can't finish the game. And he did that to Petey.
What a rib, man. That's the worst. When somebody does that, I don't care how old you are. AJ's what's AJ 40, 41 now. He's very passionate about his video games, and I'm laughing about it because I've seen it so many times. And yeah, he does. He gets hot when he's not doing so well.
Let's see here. Shadow Forever wants to know: have you ever played Dungeons and Dragons?
No. Easy answer there. Nope, I have not.
Let's see here. Not a question, but this comes from Warcat. I dare you to steal Braun Strowman's Money in the Bank briefcase.
Well, I'll be at the same pay-per-view as him Sunday. I'll keep that in mind.
Let's talk a little bit about this Money in the Bank as we wrap this up. We don't like to do predictions because I think those prediction podcasts are a little hokey at times. I think sometimes they work out good, but I'm really interested in a couple of these matches. I just want to talk about them. The Braun Strowman, which we just talked about, and Kevin Owens, that storyline is really interesting to me because I enjoy where it was going. At first, I really thought that these two were going to be friends where, Braun wanted to be his tag team partner, and I'm thinking, this could be pretty good. And I'm enjoying where it's going now. The Braun Strowman, Kevin Owens, that could be a show stealer.
Yeah, it's just once he gets Braun on the cell, and they'll figure out a way for him to get Braun on the cell. It's going to be a good match. They're both, Kevin Owens is a hell of a talent in the ring, and it does have the potential to be a show stealer inside a steel cage, and which adds to it. And I'm looking forward to that matchup. Can't wait to see it live.
You and I have talked ad nauseum about Roman Reigns, but Bobby Lashley is one of these guys where I'm finally getting behind him in the WWE, where it always just seemed like, for whatever reason, Impact used him better. I don't know if it was just a smaller stage, a little more intimate, at being comfortable. But over the last couple weeks, and there's still a few things that I see as a fan. I go, but it's so much better now the way Bobby Lashley is being presented to WWE fans.
I just think Bobby Lashley, he was a hell of a heel in TNA, and you get a lot of personality out of you when you are a heel opposed to a baby face. You act more of yourself, it seems like, and they've had him kind of be, aggressive there with Roman Reigns, and you really feel like when you're watching those two go at it that they have a dislike for each other, and they have a problem with each other, and they're going to settle it in the ring. It's an old school thing.
And sticking on the MMA thing, Brock Lesnar came out and challenged the winner, of I'm not an MMA guy, so. Of the last match, I believe it was, he used some harsh language. He's getting a little bit of a bad rap from the WWE fans for being lack of on the TV, which I go some weeks I go back and forth, and this is where we're gonna connect as fans, you and I. I enjoy the old school way of wrestling where a wrestler really only defended that title on a pay-per-view. You never saw him do it on a free TV show. To me, I'm glad that they're kind of going back. And I'm a little bit okay that he's not doing it on all the pay-per-views because I feel like there's too many of them. The other side of things is I'd still like to have a presence, whether it's a recorded promo from my champion. But, Brock Lesnar is so much different of a champion than we've ever seen. And they're treating him that way. And I more times than not, I fall on the side of I'm kind of enjoying this progression.
Every time he comes back, man, he gets a huge reaction. He's a mega star. And, there's no way around it. He's a huge star, and that's why they treat him as such.
Let's talk James Ellsworth, the fan. How do you want your champion to be booked as a fan, and not second guessing WWE or any other organization out there, but you as a fan have to have an opinion on how or where you see your champions?
Well, I like the old school thinking of the title gets defended every 30 days. And so, which means every pay-per-view, you build up for the pay-per-view. And then at the live events, your champion's there, defending the title in the main event. And, that's, if I were booking, that's the direction I would go. It's just my personal preference, not being a Monday morning quarterback or anything, but everybody has their personal preference, and that just happens to be mine.
There are things, and look, I get you can never go home again. I would like to see some of the old school aspects of television production get mixed into the new stuff. Not too much, but I'm glad, and it finally took me till just recently to realize this, but I'm glad that the Intercontinental Champion is no longer the number one contender belt.
I don't know. I grew up on that being the number one contender title. It seems like the Money in the Bank has taken preference over that. Feels like whoever wins the Money in the Bank is the next person in line to be the next, world champion. Kind of like the Intercontinental title used to be. And I 100% believe Braun Strowman will cash in successfully and win the Universal title. I don't know when, but I think he will. And that's kind of like I was saying, the Money in the Bank. That's how the Intercontinental title used to be looked at. It's what the Money in the Bank is now.
And not that you'll do it, but lie to me and just say, yeah, I'll do this. But will you talk to someone in the WWE and please ask them just to bring the Survivor Series back to maybe the old school format that I still think could work now. I don't know if I liked it so much more of Raw versus SmackDown, but I really enjoyed, and I think they only did it 1 or 2 years where it was the survivors went into a battle royal at the end of the night. I really would like to see them bring that back.
Well, nobody gives a damn what you want, Dennis. You can go to hell. Oh, damn. I'm sorry. I was thinking out loud there. My bad.
It's all right.
I like the way it is these days, honestly. I like the Raw versus SmackDown matches. It's fun.
And finally, we'll wrap this up, and let me ask you this question, and I'll throw my opinion into one old school thing, whether it's an old school pay-per-view, an old school gimmick match, the way they did it on TV. If you could take something from your childhood wrestling that you loved to see, or anything that you could incorporate into today's wrestling, what would it be?
Well, it's a really interesting, good question. I like to see, no matter who won the Royal Rumble, be in the main event of WrestleMania. And what I mean by that is, and this is the way the fans look at it, you go on last. And that doesn't happen this day and age. You could easily win the Royal Rumble and not go on last, like Shinsuke Nakamura did it this year, didn't go on last. When I was a kid, every year, whoever won the Royal Rumble was in the main event, went on last. And I loved that. And that'd be cool if they brought that back. So, yeah, to answer your question, there you go. Just, again, not being Monday morning quarterback, but just personal preference. And I always thought it was fun when it was booked that way.
That's a good one. I enjoy that one. I enjoy the Survivor Series. Maybe I would put Survivor Series on Thanksgiving night again. I understand you can't do it now with the way the NFL has monopolized it, but that was always one of my favorite. Maybe if I have to think about it, I'd say either the way they conduct wrestling interviews during a match, like, oh, his next opponent here, what he has to say is two other guys are in the match, or bring back Halloween Havoc. That was always my favorite pay-per-view. I'd love to see them bring that back.
Yeah, they've always had a cool set. It didn't really have any gimmick to it, other than they did that spin a wheel, make a deal with like Jake Roberts and Sting that time. That was pretty cool. But yeah, man, Halloween Havoc just rolled off the tongue really good. It was a well-named pay-per-view, and it had a cool set with all the pumpkins and everything.
All right, let's talk about what you have upcoming, James. What's in the hopper for James Ellsworth coming up?
Well, we got the pay-per-view this Sunday, Extreme Rules in Pittsburgh, which that's the arena where I made my WWE debut against Braun Strowman. So it's always cool for me to go back there and kind of take, like, I get there early, and I always, when I go to that arena particularly, always walk around and just think, wow, this is where it began. And so I can't wait to do that this Sunday. And I'm going to be up in the air there in the Shark Tank. I've never been in a Shark Tank. High above the ring, my friend who was a girl, Carmella, defends the SmackDown Live Women's Championship against Asuka, and I can't interfere. I'll be above the ring in a Shark Tank, and I'm very nervous. I've never been in one of these. I'm not afraid of heights per se, but when you don't have control of where you're going, it is kind of nerve-wracking, and it's very new to me, and we'll see how it turns out.
There you go. Adrenaline Wrestling. Anything new with that as we wrap this up?
Oh man, I always take July and August off of doing those shows because it's big vacation months, and now that I'm on this WWE schedule at the moment, it's all more reason to take time off. But it looks like we'll be coming back late September, early October.
Well, there you go, guys. As remember, you can go over to WrestlingPerspectivePodcast.com. You can subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. If you're on iTunes or Stitcher, please give us a 5-star review, rate, subscribe. That's how we move up the rankings. We've been yo-yoing, which is still really cool that we're on the rankings. I think last time I checked this week, we were at like 15 ahead of Pardon the Interruption on iTunes rankings in sports and entertainment, which is huge. So thank you, everybody that listens. James, thank you so much for another great cast. We'll be back next week. Hopefully you'll still be alive from this Shark Tank.
Yeah, man. I need to watch some Jaws movies maybe and figure out how I can get out of that thing, or at least maybe take a nap up there where I don't have to, remember being in it. So we'll, or maybe I'll tweet Jim Cornette, because he's been in it hundreds of times, or whatever it was, and I'll ask him what did he do and how'd he deal with it.
Oh, that would be a great tweet. All right, James, I know you're tired. Get some sleep. We'll see you next week, my friend.
All right, Jez. Peace.